Did you know that there are things we learned about some reggae legends after they died? Gregory Isaacs used to steal from his wife to fund his addiction habit, and also never told her he had cancer to Carlton Barrett, whose wife conspired to kill him alongside the boyfriend she was cheating with. Here are 10 things we learned about reggae legends after they died. Gregory Isaacs used to steal from his wife to fund his addiction habit. Gregory Isaacs was one of Jamaica's greatest reggae musicians, known for his smooth voice and heartfelt songs. But his journey to stardom wasn't easy. In 1968, he made his first recording under the name Winston Sinclair, singing a song called Another Heartache for producer Byron Lee. Unfortunately, the song didn't sell well, but Gregory didn't give up. Instead, he joined forces with Errol Dunkley to start the African Museum record label and music shop. That's when he finally found success, releasing My Only Lover, a song with many credits as the first ever Lovers rock track. With his career picking up, Gregory kept recording, sometimes working with other producers to fund his own music. Over the next few years, he released a string of hit songs that touched hearts and told real stories. Tracks like All I Have Is Love, Lonely Soldier, Black a Kill Black, and Extra Classic made him a star, along with his cover of Loving Pauper by Dobby Dobson. But as Gregory's fame grew, so did his struggles. His addiction to substance took a heavy toll on him. The substance damaged his voice and even caused him to lose most of his teeth. In later years, he reflected on his addiction, calling it the most expensive school fee ever paid. It was a lesson that cost him dearly his friendships, his faith, his family, and even the gift that made him famous in the first place. His wife, June, saw the worst of it. After his death, she revealed how his addiction took over their lives. He stole money from their business, sometimes large amounts to support his addiction. She said, "He had a lot of new friends, a new lifestyle. I noticed money disappearing, and it was him taking it." There was another secret Gregory kept, one even June didn't know until it was too late. He had cancer. He never told her. Instead, he suffered in silence, dealing with the pain on his own. According to June, he would call every night for long talks until I heard him snoring. Before he left for London, he told me he was going for surgery and that he would be okay. But based on how he spoke, he knew he wasn't coming back. Gregory Isaacs passed away on October 25, 2010, at his home in London. Bob Marley has 12 children, not 11 mentioned on his website. Bob Marley became one of the pioneers of reggae music, blending reggae, ska, and rocksteady into a sound that was uniquely his. With his deep, soulful voice and powerful songwriting, Marley brought Jamaican music to the world and became a global icon. Bob Marley was born as Nesta Robert Marley, but his first and middle names were swapped when he was young. A Jamaican passport official reversed his first and middle names because Nesta sounded like a girl's name, and his family wanted to make sure he had a more masculine identity. That wasn't the only unusual thing about his birth records. Bob was actually born on February 6, 1945, but his mother didn't get around to officially registering his birth right away. By the time she did, the date recorded on his birth certificate was wrong. It said April 6th instead. His journey began in 1963 when he formed a band with his friends Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. At first, they called themselves the Teenagers, but soon they became known as the Wailers. In 1965, they released their first album, The Wailing Wailers, which included the song One Love. The song became a massive hit, spreading Marley's message of unity and love far beyond Jamaica. Beyond his music, Marley was also a family man. He married Rita Anderson on February 10, 1966, in Kingston, Jamaica. Together, they had 3 children, Sidella, Ziggy, and Stephen. But Marley's family was much larger than that. He also adopted 2 of Rita's children, Sharon and Stephanie, raising them as his own. Over the years, Marley had children with several women. His other sons and daughters included Rohan, Robbie, Karen, Julian, Kaimani, and Damien, born to different mothers. But even after his death in 1981, Marley still had one more secret that only came to light after his death. It turned out that he had another daughter, Makita Janesta, born just weeks after he passed away. For years, her existence wasn't widely known, but according to biographer Meredith Dixon, she was legally recognized as his child and even became a beneficiary of his estate. Today, Makita runs a cannabis business in New Jersey, works as a DJ, and is a motivational speaker. After his death, it was revealed that when Bob was battling a serious illness, he had one final wish: to spend his last days in Jamaica, the place he loved most. Sadly, he never made it home. While traveling from Germany, where he had been receiving treatment, his condition worsened. The plane had to stop in Miami, and that's where Bob Marley passed away. Dennis Brown's addiction became confirmed after his death. Dennis Brown was known as the Crown Prince of Reggae, a title he earned in the 1980s, around the time Bob Marley passed away. Marley himself had often called Brown his favorite reggae musician, which was high praise coming from the king of reggae. His journey began early. At just 11 years old, he was already making waves in the music industry. By 1969, he had his first hit, No Man is an Island, recorded in a studio while he was still a boy. His unique singing style set him apart, and he never stopped working. Brown was one of the most dedicated musicians in reggae, producing an astonishing 78 albums for 37 different record labels. There were even years when he released as many as 7 albums, more than most artists make in a lifetime. Many consider him to have created more reggae classics than anyone else. But behind the music, there were struggles. By the late 1990s, Brown's health started to decline. Years of substance abuse had taken a toll on his body, though most people didn't know about it at the time. In May 1999, while touring in Brazil, he fell seriously ill and was diagnosed with pneumonia. When he returned to Kingston, Jamaica on June 30th, 1999, his condition worsened. That night, he was rushed to Kingston's University Hospital, suffering from cardiac arrest. The next day, Dennis Brown passed away. The official cause of death was a collapsed lung, though his years of substance use likely played a role. While rumors about Brown's addiction had existed for years, they were never confirmed while he was alive. He rarely spoke about it, and even his own brother, Leroy Clark, said he had never seen Dennis use any substance. According to Clark, Brown was a private person who kept his struggles to himself and surrounded himself with people who accepted him. Some close friends, like DJ Ranking Joe Jackson, knew the truth about Brown's addiction. After his death, some stars in the industry revealed Brown was truly addicted to some substance. Peter Tosh was killed by a man he once helped. Peter Tosh was a Jamaican reggae musician. He was one of the founding members of the Wailers, alongside Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer, before going on to build a successful solo career. But despite his fame, Tosh met a tragic and violent end at the hands of someone he once considered a friend. On September 11, 1987, after returning home to Jamaica, Tosh was confronted by a 3-man gang on motorcycles. They stormed into his house, demanding money. Tosh told them he had none, but they didn't believe him. They held him hostage for hours, torturing him in an attempt to force him to hand over cash. As time passed, more of Tosh's friends arrived at the house, only to be taken hostage as well. One of the attackers was Dennis Lobban, a man Tosh had tried to help after he was released from prison. Lepo had been a regular visitor to Tosh's home, often coming to collect handouts. He knew the house well, including how to get past the trained guard dogs that protected the property. That night, Lepo's anger boiled over. He accused Tosh of giving his woman, Marlene, too much control and not taking care of his old friends. He ordered his men to disarm Tosh, warning them that the reggae star was a black belt in martial arts. Tosh said he did not have any money in the house, after which Lobban and his fellow gunmen began opening fire in a reckless manner. Tosh was shot twice in the head and killed. They also killed Wilton Brown and disc jockey Jeff Dixon, while wounding several others, including Tosh's common-law wife, Marlene, and his drummer, Carlton Santa Davis. After the attack, shocking details came to light. Some people in Jamaica believed that Lepo had once taken the fall for Tosh in a criminal case, serving prison time in his place. When he was released, he expected Tosh to support him financially, and when that didn't happen, his resentment turned deadly. Following an investigation, Lepo turned himself in. He pleaded innocent, claiming he had been drinking with friends at the time of the murder, but the evidence against him was strong. The trial was held behind closed doors because of the involvement of illegal firearms. In the end, a jury of 8 women and 4 men found him guilty, and he was sentenced to death by hanging. If you are enjoying this video, appreciate it by giving it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Carlton Barrett's wife conspired to kill him alongside her boyfriend she cheated with. Carlton Barrett was one of Jamaica's most talented drummers, known for his work with Bob Marley and the Wailers. His drumming style was unique, with a special rhythm called the one drop, which became a signature sound in reggae music. While he played with Marley, he also worked with other reggae legends like Bunny Wailer, Peter Tosh, and Augustus Pablo. His skill behind the drums helped shape the music that people all over the world still love today. But despite his success, Barrett's life came to a tragic and shocking end. On April 17, 1987, he was shot and killed right outside his home in Kingston, Jamaica. He was only 36 years old. At first, people were stunned. Who would want to kill such a respected musician? But as the police began their investigation, the truth that came out was even more shocking than the murder itself. It was revealed that Barrett's own wife, Albertine, was involved in planning his death. She had been cheating on him with another man, a taxi driver named Denroy Morgan, and together, they plotted to have Barrett killed. The police also found out that a man named Junior Bang Neal had been hired to carry out the murder with a promised payment of $20,000. The case went to trial, and all three of them, Albertine, Carter, and Neal, were found guilty. They tried to claim that their confessions were forced and that they had been beaten by the police, but the evidence against them was strong. On October 18, 1991, Albertine and her co-conspirators were sentenced to prison. Carlton Barrett's murder was a heartbreaking end to the life of a man who had helped define reggae music. His drumming still echoes in the songs he played, and his legacy remains a vital part of Jamaica's musical history. Fathead was into some illegal trade in the U.S. Fathead was a talented dancehall musician, best known for his work with Yellow Man in the early 1980s. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, he was already making a name for himself before teaming up with Yellow Man. Together, they became a legendary duo, performing at Ace's Disco in St. Thomas, and even making history with the first ever live dancehall album, Live at Ace's. Their partnership was a huge success, leading to more albums like Bad Boy Skanking and For Your Eyes Only. But as Yellow Man focused more on his solo career, Fathead started working with other big names in dancehall, including Beanie Man, Early B, Johnny Ringo, and Ranking Toyon. He even had a solo hit in 1983 with the song It's Me. Though he and Yellow Man reunited in 1984 for the album Showdown Volume 5, Fathead's career never reached the same heights as before. Then, in 1988, his life took a dark turn. On December 22, 1988, Fathead was shot and killed in Florida, USA. At first, many were shocked. Who would want to murder a dancehall star? But the truth that came out later was unexpected. In an interview years after Fathead's death, Yellow Man revealed that Fathead had been secretly involved in a Miami substance trade. Before he was killed, no one outside his inner circle knew about this part of his life. But in the end, it was this dangerous world that led to his death. Police found Fathead's body in an abandoned apartment in Miami after neighbors reported hearing gunshots. The apartment, they later discovered, was being used as a crack house. He had been shot multiple times, a tragic and violent end to the life of a man who had once ruled the dancehall scene. Denroy Morgan was evicted from his home in Springfield due to the number of people living in the building. Denroy Morgan was a Jamaican-born American reggae artist. In 1965, at the age of 20, Morgan moved to the United States to chase his dream of becoming a musician. He started out as part of the Black Eagles, a reggae band in New York City during the 1970s, but it was in the 1980s that he truly found success, launching his solo career and making history along the way. In 1981, he released the album I'll Do Anything For You, and its title track became a big hit in R&B and dance music. But in the reggae world, his biggest moment came in 1984, when he became the first reggae artist signed to RCA Records, leading to the release of his album Make My Day. While Denroy Morgan built his own career, he also raised a family filled with musical talent. His children went on to form 2 separate bands, and even found success as solo artists. One of the most famous groups to emerge from the Morgan family is Morgan Heritage, made up of Peter Morgan, Una Morgan, Gramps Morgan, Luke's Morgan, and Mr. Mojo Morgan. Another group, LMS, consists of his other children, Noshaya, Laza, and Miriam Morgan. Meanwhile, Laza Morgan and Gramps Morgan both found success as solo acts, working with artists like Mavado, Alexandra Burke, and India Ari. Even Gramps Morgan's son, Jameer Morgan, has started his own music career. But after Denroy Morgan passed away, his children shared stories about their early days, stories that surprised many people. Growing up, the Morgan family was far from ordinary. The siblings revealed that their father had 2 wives, and they all lived together in the same house. According to Mojo, their home was divided into sections. His mother lived on the first floor, Peter's mother stayed on the second, the older siblings took the 3rd floor, and the basement was their playground. Their home was always lively, full of music, laughter, and chaos. But their biggest challenge came when they lived in Springfield, Massachusetts. The Morgan household had so many people that the neighbors complained to the city. The authorities decided that there were too many family members living under one roof, and as a result, they were evicted. Don Drummond was mentally ill, and his death was not natural. Don Drummond was one of Jamaica's greatest musicians, a brilliant trombonist and composer who helped shape the sound of ska. As a founding member of the Skatalites, he was responsible for some of their most famous tunes. But while his music made him a legend, his life was marked by tragedy, mental illness, and mystery. Drummond's career started in 1950 when he played reggae with Eric Dean's All-Stars. He performed in big bands throughout the 1950s and early 1960s, making a name for himself at popular clubs like the Big Bucket and the Silver Slipper. But his real breakthrough came in 1964 when he switched from jazz and reggae to ska and joined the Skatalites. His talent was so remarkable that some even said famous pianist George Shearing considered him one of the top 5 trombonists in the world. At the same time, Drummond became deeply connected to the Rastafari movement, and many of his fellow musicians followed his lead. Despite his success, Drummond struggled with mental health issues. At the time, mental illness was not well understood, and many of his challenges were hidden from the public. However, those close to him knew he battled severe depression and unstable behavior, which only got worse over time. On January 2, 1965, Drummond's live-in girlfriend, Anita Mahfood, was found dead stabbed 4 times in the chest. When questioned, Drummond told the police that she had stabbed herself, but the authorities didn't believe him. In 1966, he was found guilty of her death, but instead of going to prison, he was declared criminally insane and sent to Bellevue Asylum in Kingston. 4 years later, in 1969, Don Drummond was dead. The official cause was natural, possibly heart failure due to malnutrition or the medication he was taking. But not everyone believed that. Some thought the government wanted him dead because of his influence in Kingston's music scene. Others believed gangsters had killed him as revenge for Anita's murder. However, writer Heather Augustin, who spent over 2 years researching his life, uncovered a darker truth. Drummond's death was most likely caused by the medications given to him at Bellevue. These substances, which were later banned, were known to be fatal. After his death, more people came forward to talk about his struggles, his battles with mental illness, substance abuse, and the harsh treatments he endured. While these things were hidden during his lifetime, they became clearer in later years. Heather Augustin's book, Don Drummond, The Genius and Tragedy of the World's Greatest Trombonist, helped shed light on his story. She traveled to Kingston, dug through old archives, and spoke to people who knew him. What she found was heartbreaking. Drummond was not just a troubled genius, but a man who may have been failed by the very system meant to help him. Toots Hibbert helped many people. Toots. Hibbert was a reggae singer and songwriter. He led the band Toots and the Maytals, helping shape reggae music as we know it today. In fact, his 1968 song, Do the Reggae, is the reason the genre got its name. He wasn't just a great singer, he was a talented musician who could play every instrument in his band. Toots started the Maytals in 1961, and by the mid-1960s, they were one of the biggest vocal groups in Jamaica. He worked with famous producers like Coxsone Dodd, Prince Buster, and Leslie Kong. His songs were loved so much that he won Jamaica's National Popular Song Contest 3 times. First with Bam Bam in 1966, then Sweet and Dandy in 1969, and finally Pomps and Pride in 1972. Toots and Bob Marley were close friends. They even recorded some of the same songs, and both versions became hits. One of those was the Redemption song. But Toots wasn't just about music, he had a presence in film too. He appeared in the 1972 movie The Harder They Come, and his song Pressure Drop was on the soundtrack. When the British band The Clash covered Pressure Drop in 1978, it introduced Toots to a whole new generation of fans. Even as he got older, Toots never slowed down. He performed all over the world, even sharing the stage with the Red Hot Chili Peppers on New Year's Eve in 2011. He also worked with country music legend Willie Nelson on the album Countryman. One of the things people loved most about Toots was his kindness. In 2013, someone threw a bottle at his head during a concert, injuring him. The man was caught and faced jail time, but when it came to sentencing, Toots asked the judge to go easy on him. He said, "He is a young man, and I have heard what happens to young men in jail." The judge listened and gave the man 6 months instead of a harsher punishment. After Toots passed away, many people shared stories about his generosity and pure heart. Chris Blackwell, the music producer who worked with both Toots and Bob Marley, once said, "I've known Toots longer than anybody, much longer than Bob. Toots is one of the purest human beings I've met in my life, pure almost to a fault." Majek Fashek battled cancer before he died. Majek Fashek was one of Nigeria's most famous musicians, a singer, songwriter, and guitarist who left a lasting mark on reggae music. His 1988 album, Prisoner of Conscience, made him a star, thanks to the hit song, Send Down the Rain. The song was so popular that it won 6 music awards and earned him the nickname, the Rainmaker. Majek's talent took him beyond Nigeria. He worked with some of the biggest names in music, including Tracy Chapman, Jimmy Cliff, Michael Jackson, Snoop Dogg, and even Beyoncé. In the early 1990s, he signed with CBS Nigeria and released So Long Too Long, which was later featured on Putumayo World Music's first album. By 1990, he had signed with Interscope Records, where he released the critically acclaimed Spirit of Love, produced by Steven Van Zandt, also known as Little Steven. Majek's fame even brought him to American television. In 1992, he performed So Long Too Long on Late Night with David Letterman. Over the years, he released many albums with different record labels, including a reggae cover of Bob Marley's Redemption song. Some of his albums included Rainmaker under Tough Gong and Little Patience under Coral Records. Despite his success, Majek's later years were filled with struggles. In 2015, rumors spread that he was bankrupt and battling substance addiction. But in a 2017 interview, he denied the rumors. When asked about it, he said, "Let me put the record straight. I never used any substance. I was actually experiencing some spiritual attack at that time. My problem was spiritual, not addiction. I went through some spiritual problems and paid the price for them. Not every story written about me was true. Some people love scandals. They didn't want me to bounce back." Sadly, Majek Fashek passed away in his sleep on June 1st, 2020, in New York City. He was 57 years old and had been battling esophageal cancer. After his death, his manager finally confirmed that Majek had struggled with substance addiction. He had also been hospitalized several times due to other health issues. In 2019, rumors spread that he had died, but his manager denied it, revealing that Majek was critically ill and receiving treatment at Queen Elizabeth Hospital in London. It was only after he passed away that the truth came out. Majek had been battling cancer for almost a year. Which of these things are you most surprised about? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.